Hi everyone. Do you have a hobby? Today I wanted to talk about what a hobby means to me, what are some different things that I'm exploring, and I was hoping to maybe show you guys some of my art and my art space upstairs. So stick around with me if you can. My name is Laura and my channel is Laura Yi Art, but it's a space where we talk about everything to do with midlife and beyond. So please join me, and if you're coming back, thanks for coming back. So I wanted to talk today about hobbies. Just a pre-warning, I'm trying to do this video without really any scripting, so we'll see if my mind can stay on track and not hem and haw and bore you guys to death. So here we go. So I want to talk about hobbies. Before I get to hobbies though, I just want to explain to you a couple of my thoughts about retirement and how hobbies fit into that, and maybe some questions that you might ask yourself that might help you narrow it down, to think about what kind of hobbies you might want to spend your time with now that we have more time in midlife. So first of all, retirement. My husband and I, probably like many of you, we've gone through the years. Retirement was just kind of a place over there. We didn't give it much thought, honestly, except for trying to save as much money as we could. It was always about, will we have enough money in retirement? And at the same time, still trying to live a life and, give our kids a leg up and that kind of thing. So I really didn't spend a lot of time thinking about what retirement looks like. He retired a year ago, and so that's been a real eye-opener for me, watching him go through that process of unpacking what he wants to do with all this time, what his purpose is. He can't ski and golf every single day, so he's figuring that out. But it's been a real eye-opener for me. I never really thought about retirement as this big, long next chapter, next season of our lives. So it's been a kind of a watershed moment for me to realize, wow, this is a whole nother chapter that I want to make some plans for. And what's different about it is that in retirement, the plans are really for yourself. So maybe 80% of the time you're doing activities and thinking about things and doing things where you place yourself first, not somebody else. And that's a huge adjustment. And once I've kind of wrapped my head around that, I actually feel quite excited about it. I'm choosing to think of it as a 30-year stretch. I'm 58, so if I add another 30 years to that, 88 years old, there's tons of people even on YouTube, 80 and above, who are making a go of it and are flourishing. So I'm choosing to think positive. Who knows how much time we have, but I'm healthy. I live a regular life. I'm thinking, yeah, 30 years, that sounds about right. If I make it farther than that, even a bonus, right? But that's a long time. And so what else has really hit me is, wow, 30 years, that is a huge stretch of time. And I can do anything I want with that time. Wow. For me, that's crazy. And exciting. I'm starting to feel really excited about it. So part of the process is starting to think about, well, what do I know about myself and how do I want to spend my time? And that's where hobbies comes in to play. So here are a few things that I've figured out about myself and a few questions that I'll share with you that maybe will help you reflect and narrow down how you want to spend your time in retirement and what you need to do that. So the first question, I guess, to ask yourself is, are you a person that needs some structure in their life? So I've read lots of comments online from people who say, oh my gosh, I love retirement. I can sit around in my garden all day and drink my tea and read a book, and I don't have any structure or routine, and I love it that way. And if that's you, I think that's brilliant. Knowing myself though, what I've come to realize is I do need some kind of structure, routine in my life in order to feel like I'm being productive and making the best use of my time. So that's something to ask yourself. another question to ask yourself is, are you a person that likes to learn new things? So for me, I really have discovered that I really am that true, lifelong learner. I'm a person who is constantly trying to learn new things. I mean, this YouTube channel is a perfect example of that. And I kind of feel, for me only, no judgment on anybody else, but for me, I feel like if I'm not learning something new, then I'm stagnating. So, I used to say, well, if I ask myself, when was the last time I actually learned a brand new skill that I didn't know before? And if I can't think of anything, for me, that makes me nervous. That I feel like that's how we get old, is when we stop learning new things. So that's another question to ask yourself. Are you willing to put yourself out there and try new things that maybe you haven't done before? The third thing, a question, I guess, to ask yourself is, if you were able to do a hobby, where would you like that to go? So some people have a hobby, and they love it, and they're not, trying to make a business out of it or anything like that. They just love, I'm thinking of my son and daughter-in-law in the hospital with their new baby last week, and got these beautiful little knitted caps. So some sweet old lady somewhere is, knitting these beautiful little hats and donating them to the hospital. So, what do you want to do with your hobby? That's something to think about. For me, I've always had kind of like an entrepreneurial spirit. So I have such excitement and admiration for people that can make something of their own and actually sell it. There's another gal on YouTube, I'll try and put her link in here. She's so sweet, older than me, lives on her own. She, I think it's Frugal Pleasures, but she just kind of vlogs throughout her day. But one of the things she does is she collects shells, like oyster shells, which we have around here a dime a dozen because we're near the ocean, and she paints them and she makes these beautiful little dishes, like jewelry dishes, and she sells them on Etsy. And I think, oh my gosh, that's totally brilliant, right? So those are the kinds of things that really light me up and make me excited. So that's something to think about too. I'm the kind of person that most things that I see, especially things that are homemade, I often will look at that and think, wow, I could do that. Couldn't I do that? I think I could make that. And I'm the person who actually usually takes the step and tries to do it. So I've tried lots of different things along the way. I know how to knit, I know how to crochet. A couple summers ago, I took the entire summer making these beautiful vintage coffee stained papers and this fabrics kind of slow stitched journal that I made and gave to my mom. It took me forever, but it was beautiful, and I had found it online, and people make these journals and sell them, and I thought, well, let me try it and see what it's all about. Too labor intensive for me, and trying these different things, what I've realized is, basically we can do anything, but we can't do everything. So in that exploration, I've narrowed it down to a couple of things that I think I want to spend some time on. And that might change in the future, but for now, these are the two things that are lighting me up and making me feel excited. So the two things that I'm exploring and spending some time on are, obviously this YouTube channel is one thing. So I'm spending a lot of time learning it, and I'm loving it so far, and I'm crazy excited about all the connections that I've made with you so far. So that's something that I'm going to keep going and see where it takes me. The other thing that I've spent a lot of time on over these last couple of years is my art. And so just to give you a little bit of backstory on the art, and I hope it inspires you to realize that anybody can do this. I never considered myself to be artistic when I was a kid. I didn't take art classes or go to university or have any kind of special training for art. my aunt, my mom's sister, is what I would consider to be a true artist. She has a proper studio. She's sold lots of her work over the years. She teaches kids how to do art and other, adults. And I've always admired it from afar, but didn't think that it would have anything to do with me. So it was around just before COVID started, I guess, so 2019, that kind of time frame just before COVID. I had finished, all of my postgraduate work and stuff like that for my job. I did a lot of courses late to the party because I started in my late 40s. And I had said to my husband, geez, maybe what am I going to do next? Thinking of that lifelong learner thing. So I had said to him, maybe I don't know, take an art class or something like that. Maybe I could learn to paint. Now, if I'm being honest, I'm the person 10 years ago, if you had said, Laura, what are the primary colors? I'm sure I would have remembered, but I would have hesitated and thought, yeah, what are the primary colors? So, I did not have any experience. Looking back, what I realize is that I've always been a creative person. I had said to you about, trying new things, making journals, knitting, crocheting, all kinds of things that I've done in the past. So I guess that spark of creativity has always been in me, but I had never done it with painting before. So at the time, I thought, well, maybe I'll take an art course and see where that takes me. But of course, then COVID came and that was out the window. So that first Christmas of COVID, Andy, being the sweetheart that he is, he bought me a whole bunch of art supplies for Christmas. And so I really had no choice with all these beautiful supplies in front of me to start experimenting. So I did take a couple of courses online, nothing very expensive or anything. There are so many how-to videos on YouTube, and I just started practicing and playing and, going and getting a few more supplies and that kind of thing. And realized that, oh my gosh, I actually really love this. It's challenging, it's hard in some ways, but anybody can do it. And what I've realized is you're not born with talent, in my opinion. You learn the skills to do something. So I'm telling you, if I can learn to do it, anybody can learn to do it. And I think I'm making progress. My paintings are starting to pile up. I've never sold a single painting or anything like that, but I am getting to a place where I wonder if I could. Is it possible that I could maybe make a business out of my art? I'm a little bit, well, actually a lot intimidated by that because I also told you I'm kind of an introvert. So the idea of getting out there and marketing myself and, going into a coffee shop and saying, hey, would you like to display one of my paintings? Or, it just is not comfortable for me at all. So not sure how to start a business if you are not really into putting yourself out there. I'm not an Instagram person, I'm not a Facebook person, and that's probably not going to change. So I'm trying to figure out how to do it, but still be me at the same time. So we'll see. And I'm hoping then I'll share that journey with you guys. So that's what I'm spending my time on. So I'll take you upstairs and show you my art space and share with you a little bit of the art that I've done. There's a lot more kind of stored away than what's in that room, but I put out a few things so that you could see them. I just want to really encourage you to try something new, explore some hobbies, use these questions that I've put out there to you to help narrow it down for yourself, what might be fun to try and how far you want to take it. It's, I don't even like the word hobby, to be honest with you, because I feel like the word hobby implies to me something frivolous or something that you like to do in your spare time and is easy to let go of if you get too busy. So I feel like in retirement, a hobby is something much more than that because it keeps us engaged, keeps us fresh, it inspires us. You know, it can lead to having a small business of some kind. The sky's the limit. So I really hope that you will take this message and maybe explore a few things for yourself. If you're in midlife or coming to that stage, I'm telling you, there's a long stretch ahead of us that it's really nice to have a couple of things narrowed down that you really love to spend your time on. So I'll take you upstairs now. I'll turn this camera around and I'll show you some of the watercolor paintings that are stuck in the drawer in my desk, just to show you kind of what I started with, which was watercolor. And then I moved eventually to acrylic and what they call mixed media, which would be graphite and charcoal and different mark making tools on the canvas. And so that's kind of the direction that I've gone in now. So let's have a look. I pulled some watercolor paintings out of my desk drawer that have been sitting in there forever, but just to give you guys an idea of some of the watercolor things that I've done when I first started to learn how to paint. So I thought I'd just do a quick flip through just to share with you. I don't think anybody's, other than my family, has seen these little paintings. There are lots of tutorials online though to teach people how to use watercolor. If that's interesting to you, you'd be amazed at what you can do. I never thought that I could make a painting like this. It's a lot of fun. Different textures, like you use salt here to create the texture on the rocks. Learning how to paint the negative space, which would be around the object. Some moody trees. Drawing, learning how to draw flowers more like a botanical style. Pansies, love them. Ink, different, like learning how to do kind of a seascape or a beachy type scene. So, I mean, watercolor, I actually think it's pretty challenging because in acrylic or oil, if you don't like it or you make a mistake, you can let it dry and paint over top of it. But with watercolor, you're committed. There's not a lot of ways that I know of to fix mistakes or accidents that happen, but there's artists who make huge wall paintings of seascapes and cloudscapes in watercolor, and I'm really in admiration of their skills. I like to do smaller things, cards, small little paintings like this with watercolor. It seems a little bit easier to control. This was one of the first guys that I did. I really loved this bark, and I don't know if I hope you can see kind of the leaves, some of those details. His head is super cool. Wings, totally wrong angle. And if that was in acrylic, I could just let it dry and paint over top of it. But with watercolor, you can't, because once it's dry, if you add something with water back over top, it's going to loosen up all that paint again. Poplar trees, this is, you put down masking tape and you paint over top and use salt and all this stuff and then take up the masking tape. So just having fun learning different techniques. So I just thought it would be fun to show with you some of the watercolor paintings that I've done. I thought I'd share with you my art space. This is a spare bedroom in our house now that our children have flown the coop. So I'm very lucky to be able to take this big bedroom and convert it into a place where I can play and experiment with my art. My husband did an amazing job for me. He covered the floor in these paint sheets that you can see here because we have carpet underneath. And then he took plastic and actually covered the walls with plastic so that I can't splatter paint on it. And then he put up these strips of wood with nails in them. I don't know if you can see maybe here, so that I could hang my pictures up on the wall and just paint directly on there. So I have a nice closet with some storage room, so very lucky. And I thought I'd pull out some of the paintings here just so I could show you. These are just some of the paintings that I've done, not all by any stretch, but they are starting to pile up. So that is becoming more of an issue that I need to maybe start to do something with them. Here's another little kind of oceany one. cabinet just to keep my watercolor supplies. Here's another, some kind of floral abstracty vibes. This one, I really love the daisies and the different colors in it. And then this desk area, we got an old desk off of Marketplace. I think my husband might have paid $40 for it and he refinished it for me. So this is just a really nice space for me to sit and do sketching or watercolor, that kind of thing. And then these are some of the bigger abstract pieces. I know this guy looks pretty wild, but I've painted lots of flowers and, you know, different things along the way. But for me, I'm really being pulled towards the abstract painting. I find it really interesting and not that easy to do either. But you still have to keep in mind all of these aspects of art, you know, composition and value and so on. But I'm learning and I just find it holds my interest. I love all the layers and the charcoal and mark making. And every time you look at a painting like this, you see something different. And with the right aesthetic on the right wall, it looks pretty cool. So that's that guy. Here's another one. I just really love the layers and the mark making, movement, all the drips and so on. So it's kind of fun. And then these guys, there's two of them. They were inspired by an area called Manning Park that we drive through when I go up country to see my mom. And I'll try and put up a photograph at the end, but the scenery up there is so beautiful as you're going through the park in the fall. So that kind of inspired this foresty type painting. This is more of a, I don't know, it has kind of an English garden vibe to it, but more floral kind of idea. And my take on some hydrangeas. But I mix all the blues and the greens, you know, they don't just come right out of a tube. So you try and play with color mixing to get interesting shades of green and so on. Yeah, so this is my art space. I love to spend a lot of time in here. The other thing Andy did was he made this table for me out of some scrap wood. It is such an awesome workbench. And he was able to put wheels on the bottom so I can move it around. It's super cool. So there you have it. This is my art space. Just wanted to give you guys a good look at it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that look at my art studio. I know I'm very lucky to have a spare bedroom where I can do something like that in, and it wasn't always the case. I've been in the basement, in the corner of the dining room, and all over the place, but it's really nice having that extra space right now. So I encourage you, the takeaway message from this is to explore some different hobbies, put yourself out there, think about what you want to do maybe in retirement and how you want to spend your time, and be brave. Try some new things. You might surprise yourself at what you could do. All right, thanks for stopping by. For those of you that feel like you want to subscribe, I really appreciate it. It helps my channel grow a little bit. I really appreciate anything in the comments you want to share about the kind of hobbies that light you up. I'd love to hear about it, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.